All right, let's bring on Christian. Have we got him? No, good. I'm sorry. Christian, you've been waiting. Christian Toto is an award-winning journalist, film critic, and podcaster. He's the founder of HollywoodInToto.com and host of the weekly Hollywood in Toto podcast, HIT podcast, which offers a right-of-center perspective on entertainment news, which makes you virtually unique. And so it makes you virtually unique because you're the only Christian is one of the few people who actually understands the entertainment industry and talks about it from the right. He's got movie reviews on several radio stations across the country, including WTOP FM in Washington. He also co-hosts Denver's Mike Rosen at the Movies radio show on KOA News Radio, as well as the weekly Hollyweird segment on the Michael Brown Show. Find him on Twitter at Hollywood in Toto, T-O-T-O. How you doing, Christian?
I'm good. How are you?
That was a long introduction, but I wanted to tell people because people don't hear about you enough because it's just so rare that somebody talking on the right knows what he's talking about. So it's always good to talk to you about. So you wrote a piece that I just thought was terrific called "How Reporters Hide Damning Info on Liberal Stars." And this is a question that I think a lot of us on the right worry about. Why can these guys, why can they get away with saying the stuff they say? Why can the left-wing stars, why don't they suffer at the box office and so on, or do they?
Well, it's two things. One, the media does cover up for them. So not enough people know about it. If people knew what Joss Whedon, the director of The Avengers, says on Twitter, they would be aghast. I mean, I have liberal friends who I share it with on Twitter, and they're horrified by what he says. I mean, he weaponized cancer-stricken teens to make fun of Paul Ryan and Donald Trump. That was one of his more recent things.
Tell that story so people know what it is.
So Paul Ryan was meeting with some cancer-stricken teens, and I forget the specific context, but it was a picture that Ryan had tweeted out with him and the teens, just talking about what he was up to, reaching out to different sort of constituents. Joss Whedon retweeted that and said something about how Donald Trump was looking for a new wife or a new girlfriend, but these aren't exactly tens. So he was mocking the looks of these young teenagers in order to attack Trump. I mean, it was aghast. Even Whedon, who is reprehensible on Twitter, eventually took it down, but it took a while.
And he just said on Mother's Day, what was his post on Mother's Day about, I'm glad my mother's dead or something like this?
Because she won't see this expletive-filled country that we're in right now.
Okay, yeah. So now
that's sweet. I mean, that's what you want to share with your mom.
I'm sure his mom would have appreciated. So Joss Whedon, what is? Do you know what he's up to at the moment? I mean, he's a big-time guy, right?
He's between projects, but he's in serious discussions, if it hasn't been already inked, to direct a Batgirl film. Again, he is Mr. Comic-Con geek.
Right.
He's very talented. He's very good at what he does. So it's a perfect project for him. But people don't know about this other side of him.
So why don't they know?
Well, because if you look at The Hollywood Reporter and Deadline.com and all these major websites, they don't report on it. They ignore it.
Okay.
But if Scott Baio, who is not the biggest star in the galaxy, I'm sad to say, if he mentioned something about Erin Moran dying and maybe accusing her of being, dabbling in drugs in her final days incorrectly, that's mainstream news. That's all over. That he has to apologize for.
So these guys are running interference for these guys. I mean, I remember Madonna, right? She made that speech about blowing up the White House. One can only imagine what would have happened if somebody had said that. I mean, I remember a rodeo clown, said something about Obama and lost his job, basically.
Yeah, he had death threats against him too. That clown.
So did these guys feel? I mean, will Joss Whedon, when his movie comes out, whatever his next project comes out, will he suffer at the box office for this?
I don't think so. And part of it because the projects like that are so big and the brand is so strong and the connection to the audience is more about the superheroes and sort of the saving the day, that I think really hardcore conservatives who are involved in this and invested in this will not be enough to kind of sway the box office. Now, every case is different. Like Amy Schumer, I think she's basically made her brand toxic because she's been so aggressive and so partisan and so mean-spirited, so that when her new movie comes out, it's going to have a harder time at the box office because so many people are aghast at her. So it will suffer. But, a big franchise superhero brand, I think it's much more bulletproof, frankly.
Yeah. Now, didn't Schumer get attacked from the left, though, in her last movie, the movie she made with Goldie Hawn?
It's amazing. They said it was racist. It was insensitive. It was white girls going off to a foreign land and getting trouble and meeting people who had brown skin who were bad. Frankly, I defended her. It's a mediocre movie, but it's not racist.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have a character from America go to a foreign land and get kidnapped. You can't just wipe that out as a possibility. That is a story point. It could be good, it could be bad, it could be in between. But you can't say that that can't be done unless they have more empowered people of color, or in case you change the color of the stars. It's absurd.
Well, that's all they
But
see.
no one's immune.
So
what's that?
That's all they see is the color, is people's color.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
leftism is racism, essentially. So how bad? I mean, recently this show, and I have to admit, I have not watched the show. Last Man Standing. Yes, Last Man Standing. It was canceled. I know that it was a very fiercely anti-Obama show, or at least the lead character would talk about, being against Obama and all this stuff. And it got canceled. It's been on for a long time, right? It was on for years.
6 years.
6 years. Is that, I mean, everybody's up in arms about this. It was a very popular show. Is that an economic decision, or do you think it's a political decision?
I think it's both. The ABC is saying that the costs were getting too high, but was there a negotiation period? Was there sort of a give and take? I mean, a lot of times there's a lot of wiggle room in these shows where you can say, okay, we can adjust the salaries. We can kind of maybe have different partners producing, kind of defray the costs. This is a show with very strong ratings. After the election, some studio heads genuinely said, hey, maybe there's a part of the country we're not addressing. Maybe we need to think about that, make more content that speaks to them. And then they cancel Last Man Standing, which is one of the few shows that does that directly. And just before we got on the air here, Tim Allen tweeted out he was blindsided by ABC.
Really?
So he took a few days to comment on it, but he just sent it out via Twitter. So
wow,
very
so
interesting.
he did not know this was going to happen.
Yeah, and I think this might be his first comment of any capacity. But the bottom line is that this is the show that is rare, with good ratings and a big star and an audience and an anchor for your network. Why would you want to kill it?
One of the things that bothers me about this, can we play a cut while Christian is on? Yeah. One of the things that really bothers me about this, take a look at this Colbert cut. This is Colbert last night. You got it?
I have something to say here. Donald Trump, if you're watching, first of all, you're a bad president. Please resign. Second of all...
So here's what I worry about. All right, when
wait, I'm still laughing. Hold on.
I know the hilarity never ceases. The right quite reasonably gets so disgusted with this stuff that they essentially turn their back and walk away. And I get this every time I talk about this. I get emails and comments saying, "Oh, I never go to the movies anymore. I don't watch TV anymore. They're all this leftist, garbage and all this stuff." But meanwhile, Colbert is essentially training his audience to cheer at a remark like that. I mean, by what? But it's not a funny remark. It's like the guy is a professional clown telling the president to resign. I mean, can you imagine somebody? There's not one comic on late night who's not to the left of center. Not one, and that's like 5 to 7 comics. I've lost count. It bothers me that that the right is deserting basically the entertainment media. So they have no. Colbert has no reason to speak to the right because his audience is growing because all the lefties are going there. So. What's the answer? I mean, is there stuff, for instance, have you seen anything recently that you've loved that you just thought spoke to you as a conservative?
Not as a conservative, as a moviegoer for sure. Actually, the movie Get Out was interesting, kind of poked a little fun at progressives.
I thought so too, yeah.
Their pseudo-racism or their actual racism disguised as sort of tolerance. And The Infiltrator came out late last year. It's on Amazon Prime. It's very good. But as far as sort of things with a right-of-center bent, I'd be hard pressed to come up with that. But I actually had a story at Hollywood and Toto a couple days ago. Why is no channel putting on a right of center talk show host?
Isn't it amazing?
They've got Jim Jeffries is coming soon. He's a liberal. Sarah Silverman's coming up soon. She's a liberal. You've got an entire array of people who are all left of center or worse. I mean, just economically speaking, you get half the country. Who wouldn't? What conservative wouldn't tune in for that, even if the jokes are mediocre, even if the guy or gal was flat-footed at first?
Yeah.
I mean, there's such a hunger for that. It's why Fox News, warts and all, is successful.
Right.
And how no entrepreneur, no streaming service can say, hey, this is a no-brainer.
Right. And nobody, I mean, nobody's imitated even South Park, which is at least a libertarian show.
Yeah.
And nobody has done anything for younger people, basically. You know, Fox News must have an audience from 60 to dead. I mean, Blue Bloods, Blue Bloods, which is a fairly conservative show. It's still, it's a show for older people, which is fine. You know, it's not like that audience shouldn't be served. But I find young people to be very antic and libertarian. They want to be left alone. They think people should be free. They get that message. And I just don't understand why we don't fill up that space somehow.
Well, it's the power brokers in Hollywood are left of center. They will fund different projects. I mean, you think about what they do fund. Remember a couple of years ago that movie Truth with the Dan Rather story?
Yeah.
Who in their right mind thought, you know what? That's a box office hit.
Yeah. No,
they wanted to tell the story and they wanted to reframe the narrative. That's what the point was.
Yeah, that's
it doesn't even matter that it failed because that movie's going to pop up on cable and streaming services for the next 50 years.
Right.
And that narrative will be pushed against the truth.
And that's why, like The Path to 9/11 by Cyrus Nowasta, which basically told the truth about Bill Clinton not killing Osama bin Laden when he had the chance, it's never been released on DVD. The Disney company will not let that happen as long as any Clinton might run for president, which is forever.
That's right.
So is anything coming up that you want to, before you go, let me ask you about anything, any films coming up that we should look forward to?
You know, Alien Covenant comes out this week, and Ridley Scott's behind the camera again. Of course, he created Alien. He also did Prometheus, which was not that good. He actually recently had a mea culpa about that one. So I'm kind of curious about that. You know, other films, it's summer blockbuster season. I mean, Spider-Man Homecoming. It's this is kind of the silly season when it comes to films. So nothing is kind of really, truly kind of getting me too excited. I'd say War for the Planet of the Apes maybe kind of fits that bill.
Yeah.
Because those first two films have been very solid, very thoughtful, really good science fiction. So I'm hopeful for that. Woody Harrelson's the star here. Of course, the real star of the apes. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Well, and I'm the only person in America who didn't like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So
no, everybody saw it here and didn't like it either. They said it was kind of a bomb. Yeah. All right, Christian Toto from Hollywood in Toto. It's good to see you, and we'll do this again.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right, thanks a lot. It really is so unfair the way that's Christian Toto. Find him in HollywoodInToto.com and also on Twitter at HollywoodInToto. Writes really good stuff, and it's just too many of our people just have abandoned Hollywood and the entertainment industry completely, so that the only people left commenting don't know what they're talking about. But the thing about Christian is he actually likes the movies. He knows good movies when he sees them, and it makes a big difference. All right.